Alright, lads and lasses, I'm Xcentric Racer, and we're on Forza Motorsport 7. It's a little bit different this time, obviously, because you've seen the car first. Yeah, I didn't take part in this week's. Anyway, the restrictions were B-class Italian cars. Simple as that. This modern 124 went with had about 330 horsepower, and weighed about 2,200 pounds. So obviously, I do not have the podiums on me. However, I can say, race 1, Nick took first, Westy took second, Shep took third. Race 2, Shep won this time, Westy takes seconds, Stevie took third. And race 3, Shep took first, Ren took second, and Yem took third. So, now that the podiums are out of the way, let's get into the racing. First race, they're headed to Monza. This is the full circuit, and immediately, well, this track is going to favour a lot of the power cars. There was a blue Ferrari diving up the inside into turn 1, coming into the big braking zone, and you can see just the huge amount of cars. Obviously, there was a little bit of contact. Unfortunately, a car further back got spun out, just got collected. When you're racing this close, it's gonna happen. No one thought so as well. A poor 8C got forced a little bit wide. A Punto ended up on the grass. This Ferrari Testarossa was coming under threat from a Ghibli and a very nice liveried Alfa Romeo. Unfortunately, both of them got collected and got put into the tyre wall. The Testarossa was very good through the corners, struggled a lot on top speed. So at Monza, considering a lot of it is straight, it's going to really struggle here. The blue Tipo Birdcage was a lot faster than down the straight, was trying to get up to the back of it, would just drive around the outside with this just superior straight line speed. An orange 166 would do the exact same thing on the straight line. Further back, there is a modern Ferrari California coming under threat from a Giulietta. It's not usual. The Birdcage runs a little bit wide, ends up on the grass. This Testarossa is going to try and overtake the 155. However, the 155 does have that bit more top end, so the Ferrari is just going to drop back a little bit. Further back, we are looking at an 037. I think this was for about 10th. I can't remember. A Daytona. Well, they were going 3 wide. A Punto, a Daytona, and the 037. The 8C, the very old 8C, was very fast down the straights. Had a lot of acceleration. Went up the inside of all 4 of them. As we're now heading down into the big braking zone, the Milano is going to go up the inside. It's going to be stuck on the outside for the next part though. He's going to keep his car there. There's a little bit of contact. Milano ends up going on the gravel a little bit. However, no real time was lost. A Delta is going to try and go around the outside of this 037. Does actually manage to make it stick. The Punto tried to overtake it as well. Just didn't have the top end of the 037. Coming now into the braking zone. The Delta is again a similar story to the Testarossa as before. Was much better through the corners. It's going to struggle down the straights on the 037. Through the S's, would get up the inside. The Milano was very quick down the straights. Was catching up to the back of a wooden 166 and the old Ferrari Daytona. Up ahead, I think that's the old 8C. Yep, the old 8C going past the 155, the Top Gear livery, well, inspired 155, the Daytona, and the one Ferrari. Oh no, the one Ferrari's further back. The Daytona is going to do the same thing. The Milano was just a little bit too far back to overtake it in the braking zone. However, it's going to be next to it. But when you're trying to go around the outside there, especially when you don't have the handling advantage, it's going to be very tricky. So the 166 will fight up the inside, but does not have the top end of both the Yalpa and this Milano. Milano is going to have a crack up the inside this time. The final corner does get the pass to stick. The 166 is going to get up the inside of both the 155 and the Alper. Speaking of the Alper, as we look at this battle, it's currently stuck behind the 155 and the Ferrari. It's got a little bit boxed in. There was enough of a gap because the 166, the wooden one, really struggled down the straight, so the Alper managed to find an opening and would send his car up the inside. Send their car up the inside, sorry. The 155 though would keep the position overall, just with its superior handling. The 166 did lose out and is coming under fire from, I think, a Punto further back. The Alper under brakes locked them a little bit, just went into the back of the 155. However, the 155 didn't lose a lot of time. The Alper was coming under fire from that wooden 166. The 166 was going to throw it up the inside and keep his car there. However, it's going to run wide on the exit. It's going to compromise it to run the Alper. It's going to get a cutback. The Punto is keen to follow. However, the Ferrari still managed to keep it on the road and would go around the outside of the Alper. However, down the straight, you already know the story by now. Superior straight line speed car is going to go overtake on the straight. As we're coming up to the chicane, the Ferrari is still there though. It still quite hasn't lost the position. However, the Alper managed to get a good enough run and would keep the overtake. Further up, and the Milano was in a battle between a Testarossa, between a more modern Testarossa and a Daytona. Testarossa was struggling a little bit down the straights. Both the Daytona and the Milano weren't. Further up, you see the Birdcage was trying to find its way past the modern California, coming under the big brakes. The Daytona a little bit far back. The Birdcage was not able to make a move. However, the Daytona is going to try and get up the inside of the Milano. The Milano ran wide, coming out the second part of the big braking zone. However, the Milano has just that bit more top end. The Birdcage up ahead is looking round the outside of that modern California. Coming on the brakes, the Birdcage couldn't quite get that position. The Daytona is coming up to the back of the Milano, and the Birdcage would put his car on the inside. Further back, the Abarth Punto was trying to find his way past the 155. Would get a very good run, trying to put it up the inside of this corner. Would get the position in the 6. The Giulietta as well was keen to follow the 155. Just ran a little bit wide, assisted or not, I couldn't see. So that conceded the position to the Giulietta, and the Giulietta had a lot of straight line speed. That just allowed it clean sailing past the Punto, and would just be able to keep regain position. The modern California would lose the position to the Birdcage and the Milano, and was now trying to defend from the Daytona. It was an interesting choice actually, the modern California. I was expecting the classic one, no one took that. However, the Daytona, with its superior straight line speed, would get a nice run up the inside of the California, but the California is very good under brakes, is going to hold it around the outside. That's going to give it the inside for this section. However, the Daytona is going to be able to do a cutback. It's going to be stuck on the outside. However, the Daytona just has enough acceleration, enough straight line speed, that it was able to get past the modern California. Further back, and yep, this Giulietta was continuing the march up the field, coming up against the 166. Would go up the inside with just its superior straight line speed. Further up, they were 3 wide coming into the second chicane. The wooden Ferrari was going to gain a lot of time through this section. It was a little bit too far back. The orange 166 got a very bad run out of there. That's going to allow these two cars to catch up to the back of it, and especially the Giulietta with its insane amount of straightening speed. It's going to throw up the inside of the orange 166. It's going to get the past stick. The 8C outruns the Alpa. Well, I'll say the pass stuck. It didn't. The orange 166 was even faster down the straights, down the Giulietta. You know what I mean. However, it's going to lock the brakes and go into the gravel trap. It was a shame. The Alpa is fighting back against that old 8C. That's going to bring the Giulietta into the fight. It's going to get past the Alpa with no issue. And it's going to try and get up. It's going to try and find its way past the 8C. The 8C is still very fast down the straight. It was a very questionable car to drive, so I heard. The Giulietta was too far back to really, well, to get the pass to stick. That's going to compromise it a little bit. The Alpa, with an uncompromised run, is going to gain a lot of time. It's just going to be able to sit in that slipstream, just wait. The Giulietta's compromised run is going to allow that Alpa to dive up the inside, coming into the first big braking zone. Can't tell whether that's Forza laggy replays. I imagine it is. It's only managed to stop, and it's not locking the brakes. However, the Alpa couldn't quite make the position to stick. Is instead going to have to resort to going round the outside along this very long right-hander. Is still stuck there. Both of these cars are actually very quick down the straight. Coming into the second chicane, the Alpa is still up the inside, would get that position to stick. Unfortunately though, the Alpa had a little bit of just sideways antics coming out of that corner. That's going to compromise the Giulietta, and the wooden Ferrari would go up the inside. However, you know how quick the Giulietta is. At the front, this Alfa Romeo was uncontested. The Montreal just flew off at the start, and no car was even close to it. This was for third, and the old Maserati, the 300, was coming up against a Ferrari 250 GT. If I remember my classic Italian cars correctly, you can see the Ferrari got a very good run and almost got third place. Our second race, we headed to Sonoma. Well, they did anyway. Following the Tipo here, you can see around the outside, the 8C actually did go on two wheels and got lifted up a bit more. It was very questionable. You can see why I'd say it was very questionable to drive. Got dumped right to the back of the field. It was just a huge amount of cars coming into the chicane. The Giulietta was up the inside of a 3 wide between a Ghibli and a Testarossa, the more modern one, the big wide one. Further back, beyond the birdcage, they are 3 wide. The birdcage is going to try and go around the outside of the Testarossa. However, it's just going to be hung wide to drive. That's going to lose it a lot of positions considering how close the battling is here. The Testarossa looks like it just loses the back end, and especially through the S's, and is going to lose a fair amount of positions. The birdcage was trying to go up the inside of the 8C, coming in now to the hairpin. The 3 wide, a little bit further up, the 8C was trying to do a cutback up the inside of the birdcage. However, the birdcage does have a lot of acceleration. It's going to get up to the back of that Ghibli. It's going to get up the inside of the fast left-handers. Coming up now to the back of the Ferrari 250 GT. Unfortunately, the Ghibli and the birdcage get connected together. However, the Ghibli does wait for the birdcage. Further up, and someone but a Countach. It's always nice to see Lamborghini supercars. Coming up now to the big braking zone. Unfortunately, just misses the braking point a little bit. Amazingly, there was no spin outs and things like that. Is going a lot wide into the S's. That must have been a feeling, I imagine. Does run across the grass a little bit. I think that was a Milano. Runs even more across the grass. So unfortunately, the Countach, with a little bit running wide, is going to lose a heap of positions. Did get a very bad run. Again, they're almost going 3 wide. A purple car, very white, clatters the wall. That's going to lose it 2 positions. Countach, though, is catching him to the back of the 250 Testarossa. However, that 250 does have a lot more handling compared to this Countach. Caught up to the back of the purple 250 GTO, I think that is. The Milano in the background. The 250 Testarossa gets a very compromised run through the chicanes. That's going to allow the Countach to go up the inside. He's going to use a lot of the run off the Milano. Does overtake that 250 Testarossa. Is going to try and look for a way past the Countach. Had a sniff up the inside, was a little bit too far back. The Testarossa, with its superior handling, was going to try and fight back, however was too far back to regain his position against that Milano. The Countach was staring at the back of the modern California, well, modern-ish. The 250 GTO gets a very big sideways moment, coming out the final part of the Estes, coming now into the final hairpin. The red car, you can see up ahead, it's going to dive up the inside. The Countach, I think, goes around the outside. And as we now look at the battle, unfortunately, the 250 GTO and the Countach would get connected together and would spin out in a very dangerous location. Very unfortunate, but massive props to people managing to avoid that crash. The 037 was defending from the modern-ish California. The 166 up ahead goes very wide. The California does as well. The Milano is looking up the inside of the 037. Is going to be able to get that position. The Milano with a lot of straight line speed. The 037 is defending from the California. The California dives very much up the inside. The 250 Testarossa does follow suit. The California does manage to get that position against the 037 coming up the S's. The 250 Testarossa is going to try and look for a way past, however, just doesn't have. It's just a little bit down on acceleration compared to that 037. The California does make a little bit of a breakaway up ahead. I think this was towards the front. I think this was for second. Forgive me if that's wrong. Oh, it might have been for the lead. I don't know. Oh no, it's not. I think this was the battle for second. The Punto was battling with the classic Maserati, the 300S. I do apologise if I'm getting these numbers and cars wrong. Oh well. Both of them run very wide. The old 124 with a different engine. It's a Honda engine. That's going to be very annoying. Was catching up to the back of this little fight. Was just staring at the back of the Punto, waiting for mistakes to happen, waiting for an opportunity. The birdcage was, well, stored towards the back, and obviously, as you know, got in a little bit of a tangle, and was fighting its way up the field. Was doing a very good recovery drive, coming up against the 037 down the S's. The birdcage was a decent all round, but had very good acceleration. coming out the final part of the S's, is going to look up the inside of that 037. I don't think it collapsed the tyre walls. Looks like it did. I don't think it did. The 037 defended very valiantly around the outside. However, like I said, the birdcage, with its superior acceleration, would make short work of it. Was now trying to get past a 250 Testarossa. The Testarossa, though, runs very, very deep. It's going to end up on the grass. The birdcage is going to say thank you very much and get a very clean overtake up the inside. And the 250 Testarossa doesn't have the acceleration on that. Towards the front, this very old, I think it's a Ferrari, was leading for a little while. However, as you can see, was very difficult to drive, getting very sideways around the S's, would drop it back 2 positions, was going to try and fight past the Punto. Try to look around the outside, however the Punto just has too much handling. Further back, a Giulietta got overtaken by something, I'm not too sure what. The classic Ferrari was going to try and find his way past the Punto, was a lot quicker down the straight, did knock the Punto wide, however just let off the throttle, either that or didn't have the handling. I imagine though, was let the Punto back past, and because of that the Punto made up a little bit more ground, especially around the more handling section. Would gain that little bit more time, but you can see how much quicker this, I'm going to say it's a Ferrari, I'm probably wrong, was down the straights. Does cut the corners a little bit, trying to, well, I think just went across the curb and that's going to force it wide. The California kept, well, the T-Port birdcage kept the modern-ish California company in the background. A Delta was sort of in the background of this little fight. The Ferrari was very good through the S's. Obviously the birdcage, like I said before, was very good out the corners. The birdcage is going to look up the inside of the California. The California does outbrake itself, was going to try and do a cutback, but when you have this much acceleration in that birdcage, cutbacks become very difficult to do against it. So the California did end up losing its position. The birdcage was looking a little bit skittish coming up the fast left-handers. To, I think this was, yes, I would like to say this orange 166. Well, it's done the first out of this, and that is, yep, roll. Went up the inside of 250 GTO, hit the crests, and went for a roll. Yep, that's not happened before. So, there you are. First roll out of my series. Anyway, we're back to cars that are on its wheels. This 250 GT was looking to find its way past the 8C that's up ahead. And the 8C was trying to find its way past the Montreal. But as you know, the 8C is very questionable to drive. The 250 GT is going to try and look around the outside of the final part of the S's. Was a little bit too far back, but the 8C was going to run wide though, so the 250 would just lift off a little bit, get up the inside of the 8C and make that position stick. The 8C was just a little bit too far back though to try and fight back at the hairpin. You can see though the 8C was keeping close to it on the straights, but coming through the corners you can see it's just dropped back massively. This was at the front. The old Maserati, the 300S, was starting to get... The 124 was starting to get there to it. However, this was on the final racing lap and was a little bit too far back to make a move against it. So, like I said, Sheep would take first in this, Westy would take second, Stevie with that Punto would take third overall. A little bit further back, this was a pretty close, well, was looking to be a pretty close finish. Unfortunately, the Delta just ran just a bit wide, clattered the wall, and would just lose time against the car ahead, the 250 Testarossa. And our final race, they went to Mugello, the full-on GP circuit. We're following the Testarossa this time, not the 250. The birdcage, with a huge amount of acceleration, would go up the inside, was up the inside as well of the Punto. There was a little bit of a collision between the Testarossa and the Punto. I think the Punto just got a little bit of a understeer, and that just corner to corner, and yeah, amazingly though, it didn't spin out and didn't collect any of the cars. The Delta was up the inside of the Testarossa. I was going to be stuck out wide as they're going. I'm pretty sure that's 3 wide up ahead. The Delta though had a lot of handling, was very good at this first section, was able to keep the position against this Testarossa. Again, the Testarossa I think got tapped a little bit by the Alpa, that forced it, the Alpa, excuse me, and the Giulietta wide. However, they managed to recover quite nicely. The Pink 250 GTO had a little bit of a touch from the California, did regain it altogether. The 037 had a very bad run up the S's, would cause a little bit of panic. However, no cars collected it. The California did a very good dive up the inside. However, throughout the final part of that chicane, would end up going on the gravel, so would end up losing 3 positions, it looks like. Might even be more, especially when you're racing this close. That is a lot of positions to lose. The 8C was enjoying a lot of clean out the front, started near the front and just ran away a little bit. And through the final chicane, there were many cars in a short space of area. Coming up now to the final hairpin, the birdcage was going around the outside of something. The pink 250 GTO, pink, purple, whatever, did try and find its way past the blue 250 GT, couldn't quite do it. And the modern California did have a lot more straight line speed in that 250 and would get up the inside. The Milano, this was for second. The Milano overtook them to birdcage on the straights. The birdcage tried to fight back, was a little bit too far back. Oh, forgive me, it's a battle for third. However, the birdcage was plastered onto the back of this Milano. The birdcage, again, was more balanced. However, through the S's, the 300S had a little bit of a slow run that allowed the Milano to catch up massively. The birdcage, though, was just plastered on the back again. Was going to try and go up the inside, going down to the downhill section, couldn't quite do it. Then tried again at the next corner, couldn't quite do it. However, coming up the uphill section, had a lot of handling, a lot of acceleration, would throw up the inside of the Milano and the Montreal. The Montreal, though, was going to try and fight back, going around the outside. However, was not on the ideal line against it, and the Milano would get the overtake as well, considering the Montreal was hung out wide to dry. A little bit further back, and we're looking at a fight between classic Formula 1 car, a Punto, going 2 wide, coming into this hairpin, a Yalpa, just looking at the back, waiting for any opportunities to make its way past. Modern California up ahead was coming under fire from the Honda powered 124. A little bit further back, the orange 166 looked like it got connected and just span across. Oh no, it's there. Thanks Forza for the replay lag. However, did manage to get its position. Don't ask me. So the Alpha was in a little bit of clean air. The Punto up ahead was definitely better through the corners. You can tell because of the closing speed of the Alpha. The Daytona further back was getting all the time, all the positions down the straight. Was going to try and go around the outside of a 3 wide, couldn't quite do it. Speaking of, as we look at that battle now, from the Delta's perspective, is going to go around the outside, will try to go around the outside of the 166. Did end up a little bit on the sand, but the 166 had a very bad run coming out of that. That's going to box in a Countach. The 250 GTO is going to get a little bit of a slide, however, is going to keep its position ahead of the Delta. Coming now to the downhill section. The Delta was gaining time through the corners, however was a little bit far back. As you can see further back, the 166 ran wide coming through the left-hander. That's going to allow the Countach to go up the inside, however it's going to be stuck on the outside for the double right-handers. However, it does make the position stick, and the car further back does also get that position. Further up, unfortunately one of the cars I think got tapped and was on the sand. I think that was the wooden 166. The California was defending from the classic F1 car. Did run a little bit wide, however managed to keep the position. The Punto, they would try and get position. This Milano would get wheels across the curb. That would spit it sideways. However, the Yalpa couldn't really gain any advantage against that Montreal. And as we now come onto the big straight, the Montreal again runs across the curves, but however, you saw that was completely gone at Monza. And yeah, would had a huge amount of straight line speed, would get past the Punto and would start catching up to the California. It did the California did lose its position to that classic F1 car a little bit further back, and the Punto was having to defend. The California was going to try and look up the inside of that Ferrari, however it's just ended up following the leader. The Punto as well was trying to get its position back from the Montreal. Further up, this was for 5th, and the 250 GT was a little bit ahead of the classic, well, the other two Ferraris, the California and the classic F1 car, and the Black 124, the Honda powered one, was a little bit too far ahead. Well, was far enough ahead that it wasn't compromised from the fight of this. Ignore the 037 back there. I think it's role-playing as an Italian car. But the three Ferraris was sort of close together, however they weren't really able to try and make any moves. You can see the classic Ferrari was struggling a little bit through the hairpin. Further back, we're looking at the Countach that stayed pretty close to this Delta. A car, a Giulietta, would run wide and just give up. The Countach though did get a very bad run coming up the chicanes, and that would drop it back. The wooden 166 was ahead of the Delta. Both of them were slow down the straights, and this Countach was pretty good down the straights. And you can see the closing speed of the Countach compared to these two would get the position of the Delta, and was going to, well, unfortunately, was a little bit too far back to get a opportunity to overtake the wooden 166. The Delta, though, with a lot of handling, was starting to catch up to the back of the Countach, wanting to regain its lost position. The Punto, the Bark Livery Punto, was still trying to find its way past the Alpa. Was going to try and look around the outside of the downhill section. The car is there, and it's now going to be on the inside for the left-hander. However, the Alpa is still on its side. They're still going side by side, coming up to the uphill section, the double right-handers, and the Punto is still around the outside trying to get the position to stick. Eventually, it does get that position to stick. It was a very well done overtake, having to go around the outside of 3 pretty quick corners with very small braking zones was really well done, and would gain a little bit more time against that Yalpa due to its better cornering ability, and was able to break ground, especially through the chicane. The field did spread out after a little bit. However, this 8C was, well, had a lot of clean air at the start, was gradually being caught by the cars you'd see ahead, and was now coming under fire from the Honda-powered 124. The 124 is going to try and look around the outside of the 8C, does get the position to stick, and the 124 isn't slow down the straight, so was able to keep the position. And at the front, the Maserati 300S, once it managed to get up to the front, was just uncontested. The Birdcage would get second, just tantalisingly close. I think they're sort of balanced out at Mugello, and the Milano would take third. This was another close finish. The Countach did catch up to the 250 GTO and the the Montreal. And you can see up ahead, the Montreal was catching massively to that 166. I should have looked at the photos, because I do think the Montreal managed to get it at the end. So yeah, the racing, from what I heard, was a lot of fun, and from what the replays, was also good fun to watch as well. I will say this now, thank you to Ren for hosting this event in my place. Thank you to Yeet as well for sharing all 3 replays. And, well, thank you to everyone who does take part in these. If you enjoyed, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, even though that thing is massively unreliable. If you would like to take part in these, the first link in the description will be the Discord in order to join these events. The second line will be my Discord, in case you want to chat with us, or you want to take part in the GTA 5 events. However, that is it from me. Till next time, ciao for now.